Imagine that each of us has a box, and inside this box, there is something that we all agree to call a beetle. This beetle represents one of our private inner states and emotions, such as pain, anger, and other similar personal experiences. However, each of us can only look inside their own box and no one else's. It is then possible to know what if what's in my box is the same thing as the one in yours. Is what brings me happiness perhaps something that brings you suffering? These are some of the questions that Wittgenstein grappled with, trying to show us how language is almost useless when it comes to human inner experiences. At the heart of human connection is our struggle to communicate the vast complexity of our inner worlds. Wittgenstein's ideas about the limits of language help frame this challenge, as we seek to express emotions that are often too personal and nuanced for words. But in today's world, where language dominates communication, we might be losing touch with the deeper ways we understand and relate to one another. That is why Wittgenstein said the following: "Whereof one cannot speak, thereof one must be silent." This quote suggests that some things are simply beyond the reach of language, and perhaps that is the problem, that today we try more and more to communicate things that we can't truly express. And while we use more and more words, it seems as if we are further from understanding each other. It is a great illusion that more words are always better, and it is precisely this fact that we often forget. The power of communication lies not only in what we say, but also in what we choose not to say. His view reveals us an important truth. Words, more often than not, fall short in conveying the complexity of our inner worlds. Today, however, we seem to be drowning in language, especially with the rise of social media. Instantaneous communication with thousands paradoxically leads to greater misunderstanding, as the complexity of our inner worlds is oversimplified by the sheer volume of words. The noise is getting louder and louder, despite that we have historically the most effective means of communication. Most of us participate in this social media game precisely because we want to explain ourselves better to the world. But if verbal communication were truly effective, shouldn't the noise start to decrease? What we observe is the exact opposite. This indicates that, for example, we can explain weather to others with words, but what happens inside us we really can't. If someone says they are angry, you'll look into your own box, find anger, and assume you know what the other person is talking about. But for them, anger is likely something entirely different. What happiness is for you might be too intense for someone else, and if you somehow transferred your happiness into their box, it would not be happiness, but maybe anxiety and discomfort. In the end, perhaps it is in this mismatch between our inner states and the words we use to describe them where the secret of failed communication lies. Can we truly agree on what a particular word means for each of us? If words often fail to communicate the fullness of our emotions, perhaps the answer lies in other forms of expression. Music, art, and even silence offer us an alternative, a space where our feelings can be communicated not in words, but in the language of experience itself. These forms of expression allows us to transcend the limitations of verbal communication, creating a deeper, more intuitive understanding. As we concluded, abstract ideas and feelings cannot be described with words, but what we can do is try to transfer that feeling to someone else through other forms of communication. Art and music are not very precise methods of communication, which means that for our own inner peace, we must give up the idea that anyone will ever truly look into our box and fully understand us. When we dig a little below the surface, what we are really looking for is a way to express ourselves, not a way for others to fully understand us. And precisely when we realize this, we can achieve it through art. We must accept that abstract ideas can only be expressed abstractly. Feelings are not a mathematical formula, and trying to express them in a few words is meaningless and in some ways causes suffering within us. Relying on words to translate abstract ideas also leads us into a trap where we start believing in the partial description of what is happening inside of us. For example, if you try to express to someone how much you love them with words, your brain will automatically assume you have successfully expressed yourself, limiting that love to those words and forgetting about all the deep and indescribable emotions that were bubbling within you. Suddenly, you no longer experience love fully, and its most beautiful parts, neglected, vanish from you. Isn't a peaceful night in the arms of a loved one better than a cold "I love you"? As we embrace silence, we begin to uncover its deeper potential. It provides us with the space to better understand ourselves, to reflect on our emotions, and to articulate what we truly mean. Ironically, by saying less, we often end up saying more. Silence creates the foundation for more meaningful, intentional communication, not only with others, but most importantly, with ourselves. A person does not need 1,000 friends or 1,000 fans. What makes life meaningful is a few deep and genuine connections with people around us, instead of chasing the desire for everyone to perfectly understand us. What we should pursue is for a few loved ones to understand us as best as possible. And to achieve that, we first need to consume solitude and silence and finally understand ourselves, then realize the power of actions and artistic expression, and give these same loved ones deeper access to our soul. Or as Aldous Huxley said, after silence, that which comes nearest to expressing the inexpressible is music. Enjoy the silence.